the ultimate form of showing gratitude to the gifts that God gave you, not only still being here, but also giving you the physical ability to still go out there and walk and run and compete and do the things that you do.
I was skydiving, had a halo accident, hit the ground going 121 miles an hour, severed my patella tendon, my ankle, back and neck all messed up. But God had something in store for me because I was alive. I survived. After all that rehab and everything, I still go out. I still run marathons. You know, even though it's funny, people are like, hey, you're 100% disabled. You don't have a patella tendon. You know, your back is jacked up. Your neck is jacked up. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Just sit here and feel sorry for myself? No, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go freaking kick some ass. That's kind of a metaphor for life, right? You get knocked down, you get hurt, you just get back up and you just go hard because no one's going to do it for you. That's the same mentality I took into my business, is that I'm just not going to stop.
This is Sparta!
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick. And as always, friendly reminder, you got to share these episodes. I am bringing some amazing guests, having leader-to-leader conversations, and today will be no different. So make sure that you're liking, subscribing, sharing, doing all those things those YouTube kids tell us to do to continue to spread the message and impact. But today, I got to meet this man just a couple weeks ago. Actually, about a month ago now. New friend. Someone who truly wowed me in all that he has set out to do, and today I get to bring his wisdom and story to the Spartan audience. With us today, CEO of Zap Mortgage and fellow warrior of God. Please join me in welcoming Anthony Lee. How we doing, brother?
Good, Josh. Great to be here. Thank you for getting us together. God has truly blessed us in meeting and being able to share some stories. So yeah, it's been an awesome time.
Yeah, well, we met at Ben Newman's boot camp, and it's just cool. Like when you're in a room of high achievers, like you're with like-minded people, you're gonna hit it off with certain people. And Anthony and we got to spend some time with mutual friend Tom Caravella, who Tom's been on the show as well. So shout out Tom. And we got to do some hard workouts together. It's always interesting, you know. I think that there's not enough times, like you were military, and we'll get into that. Me was not military, but in football locker rooms, bleeding and sweating and doing hard shit with other teammates. Like when you do hard things with people, it creates a bond afterwards, after completing that's just a little bit different. It hits different. I just gotta say that I haven't talked about that, but it's some of those experiences, like I'm sure like some of your brothers from the military that you fought with and bled with, there's just different relationships and bonds. Just like some of the guys that I bled with and sweat with in the locker rooms, different bonds that are created than just normal everyday life. What do you think about that?
That's 100% true. And I can tell you a little bit of story about that. So, you know, we'll get into my military background, but, you know, military special forces, whether it's Army, Air Force, Navy, SEALs, whatever, sometimes they all wear these, or Rangers, they all wear these things called Ranger panties, little silk shorts, whatever, that these operators wear. I was on vacation with my wife down in Florida. We were at a resort. I had these little short shorts on, and from across the whole pool, like this dude in the hot tub just got up and yelled and said, "Yo, hey, over here, come over here." And I went over there, and he's like, because he saw the shorts I was on. So he just asked what team I was on, what I did. You know, never knew this guy. But, you know, we had gone to the same schools, did the same hard shit, and we were there like the whole weekend. Him and I hung out, and his wife was like, he does this all the time when he finds somebody. It's a brotherhood. And it continues today, kind of like your football guys, the guys I went through indoctrination course with, the guys I was stationed with, the guys I deployed with, you know, we're still in contact today. And if any of them ever really needed me, they will call. You know, we'll all be there for each other.
Yeah, that's so good. And I just wanted that occurred to me as I was talking through that of, you know, doing those hard workouts together and coming out just closer and then having fun and having a couple cocktails later in the evening, and the bonding just continues. So Anthony spent 22 or 23 years.
22 years total.
22 years as an officer in the Air Force, followed by 10 plus years in the real estate industry, all of which brought you to where you are today. And what's interesting, when I was talking to Anthony about his business, he really said, and I don't know if I'm going to get these words exactly right, but you said you're a marketing company that does mortgages. Is that right?
That's true. We are a marketing and sales company that happens to, dabble in the mortgage industry.
And does a big job, and we'll get into more of that in a little bit. But let's backtrack even further than that. Start from the beginning and help our listeners understand what has led you from the man that joined the Air Force now 32 years ago, I guess that would be, to the man that you are today.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very small town in Ohio. Grew up very humbly. We weren't rich at all by any means. Back then, we were the guys that had the eggs and cheese and beans and stuff delivered to your doorstep. So that's where I came from. And out of high school, I had my oldest daughter, who's now getting ready to have my third grandchild. I had her. She was actually born on the day I graduated high school. And so shortly after high school, went straight into we were at Desert Storm. So I enlisted and went straight to war after training. Came back, started going to college, got accepted to the Airman's Education and Commissioning Program, got my degree in engineering, became an officer. So, I had 3 daughters by that time. So it was truly fun going through college with 3 kids, 3 little kids.
I love the word, you used the word fun in that scenario.
Yeah. So, did that. And then I, of course, all the other wars that happened between 1990 and 2013, 14, part of all of those. So during that history of the United States, was able to help our country out. I got out. I was originally going to school to get my doctorate in psychology. I wanted to be a clinical psychologist for sports teams because I'm really into sports, as an elite athlete, all that kind of stuff. So I was going to school, and in the last semester there, you're doing your clinicals or whatever, right? And it was kind of boring because I was used to going every day and doing this was just like a few hours a day. And I was like, well, you know what? Let me try this real estate thing out. And so I did. And when I do something, I only know one speed, right? Just go hard. And so, that first quarter, that first 3 or 4 months, I made a little over $250,000 in commission. And my wife was like, well, you know how much psychologists make, right? And I was like, no. She's like, around 80K. So what are you going to do? And I was like, hey, so this is it. So yeah, started getting into sales and marketing then. Learned the ropes, really dove in deep. Went to all the Tony Robbins stuff. Been to a lot of classes, learned a lot of marketing stuff. I have an MBA also, and I did a lot of marketing classes during that. And so then I just moved it over into mortgages. I moved from real estate to mortgages because real estate, while it was great and we were making a lot of money, I couldn't expand. I couldn't scale the way I wanted to, right? So in mortgages,
there's only so much time in the day. Yeah,
there is. So starting a mortgage bank, I knew I could go to different states. I could scale exponentially. I could make it big. We could give back more philanthropically. And that's what we did. And I just learned how to market and sell and teach people to market and sell. So that's what we bring in our loan officers do. We teach them how to solve problems, fill the gaps, and provide a service and then move to the next. So that's where we're at.
Oh, that's great. Well, you skipped a major story in there. So first of all, and I usually start with this, and I know I told you this in person, but I want to say it publicly again. Thank you, brother, for your service and sacrifice for our country, because you guys don't get thanked enough. And especially nowadays, I just had a guest on yesterday. We haven't released that episode yet, but he mentioned this, how he has an American flag in his office, an American flag that flies out in front of his house. And I said, you better watch it, because you're going to end up on a terror watch list here in America right now. And he goes, I know, that's the sad part of it about our current state of affairs. So I always want to make sure that we're publicly thanking our veterans and those that serve and fought for us. But you were telling Tom and I a story about, was it your last deployment and last parachute incident?
Oh yeah. So
that's kind of a big story that you glossed over, and I want to make sure our audience hears this. So the sacrifice after all those years.
That it is. So I happened to have, I was skydiving, had a halo accident. I hit the ground. My little computer said I hit the ground going 121 miles an hour, severed my patella tendon, my ankle, back and neck all messed up. But God had something in store for me because I was alive. I survived. After all that rehab and everything, I still go out. I still run marathons. I'm going to run all 6 marathon majors next year.
Yes, sir.
Even though it's funny, people are like, hey, you're 100% disabled. You don't have a patella tendon. Your back is jacked up. Your neck is jacked up. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do? Just sit here and feel sorry for myself? No, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go freaking kick some ass. Now, it may not be the same ass kicking I was doing prior to that, but it's still, in my mind, some of the same things. In fact, I did the Marine Corps Marathon this last Sunday, or 3 days ago. And it wasn't my fastest, but, I made it through. It was a hot day, but that's kind of a metaphor for life, right? You get knocked down, you get hurt, you just get back up and you just go hard because no one's going to do it for you. And I found that through physical fitness, if I actually stop working out, my body will hurt worse than if I continue to work out. Even though stuff's broken and hurts every day, it feels better if I'm moving. But that's that's the same mentality I took into my business, is that I'm just not going to stop no matter what.
You guys hear this? Like, this man hit the ground going 120 miles an hour. And God said, we're not done here yet. Body all messed up and is still going out and kicking some ass as much as possible. How's your body feeling 3 days after that marathon?
Yesterday was rough. Today is better. I went to the hot tub last night. Got some stretching, some massage in. Today's good. I'll probably go run about 3 or 4 miles today. And my training plan's already started for the Tokyo Marathon at the beginning of March. So, I need to recover. As you get older, when you hit 50, recovery does take a little bit longer. So I'll be taking it slow this week, but I will get back into it. I'll run about 3 miles today, probably.
Yeah. And another thing you keyed on there, and again, you said all this stuff so humbly, like it's no big deal, which is just, it's awesome. It's the warrior mindset in you. You mentioned about, just going back out there and giving it your all. And I had this thought of, that's the ultimate form of showing gratitude to the gifts that God gave you, not only still being here, but also giving you the physical ability to still go out there and walk and run and compete and do the things that you do. So a lot of times, I was teaching this concept to one of my mastermind groups just yesterday, as a matter of fact. We use gratitude in words, but we don't necessarily use it in action. And I think people could be much better in expressing gratitude in words from the jump. But gratitude in action is like, if Anthony is truly grateful for his body and what his body still can do, it may not be what it was able to do 20 years ago, and neither can mine, by the way. However, gratitude for the body and the gifts that we still have is going out and using that body to give what you have left, and that's truly what you're doing, brother. I just want to express that because it's not just words, it's in action that gratitude is truly shown.
I like the way you put that. That sounds good. I've never really heard it put like that. That's actually good. That's true too.
It's very true. And I think that, yes, we can all be better with our words of gratitude, but action is even more powerful. So
for sure.
The other thing I want to touch on with the military background as well, a lot of my friends only served one tour or a couple tours. You stayed to what is considered career military 20 years, and then were officially disabled after your accident. But what was the hardest thing for you in that time frame of all the wars, of all the time away from your family, overcoming the injuries? What was the hardest thing for you during that time period that you had to overcome?
Wow. Ooh, that's a big one. In training, I would guess the hardest thing to overcome during pararescue indoctrination training is just not quitting, because as pararescue Navy SEALs, you get the crap kicked out of you. So that's where I learned, you never quit ever, no matter what, you just keep pushing forward. Probably some of the hardest parts is just being at war and seeing the human just depravity, just other countries and other people, and they don't have regard for human life like sometimes we in the United States do. So just seeing that play out and having to hold your emotions back and just do your mission and take care of things. That was probably some of the most challenging things. Being away from the family, of course, is huge. My daughters, I didn't get to see a lot of them growing up. I saw them, what I could. I see a lot of them now. That was definitely hard, but yeah, just seeing that side of life and seeing the different cultures and having to still stay on task, even when you may not know really why you're doing something. You were told to go do it, so you do it.
That right there, I think, is what America is missing, and why so much is lost nowadays in the respect for our country is we don't even have gratitude, in myself sometimes even included, of I get to wake up the majority of my days and kiss my daughters before they go to school.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have that for many years. And that's where we got to have that appreciation for our veterans, and hopefully, and hope and pray that our politicians don't do that to our next generation of kids.
We can only hope.
Right.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's hard. And it, especially with what's going on right now with this administration and the way the military has evolved. So my wife also did 21 years. So she retired also. She was on the medical side of things. And, she was offered a position to stay on and be a full board colonel and take over. But, she retired because of the way the military was moving, right? She was being told on the medical side that she needed to sign deployment waivers for people just because, they felt like, they were a boy and wanted to be a girl or whatever it was. And they thought they could get out of deployment by saying that. And she was like, no, I don't have to do that. And so,
they shouldn't be in the military to begin with, in my opinion.
They shouldn't. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on. And so she said, it's time. She got out too. She retired.
Yeah. And again, people don't necessarily look at that, but that's losing talent because of an ideology, right?
Yes.
I'm certain, knowing you, not knowing your wife, but knowing that she was that long into it, offered a very high ranking position of colonel. That is a talented person saying, you know what? This ain't for me. And we lose that talent because of some pushy ideology, woke ideology. Like, that's the other dichotomy of this that people aren't paying attention to. Like, so dumb. So we can go down that path a long way.
Yes.
So I'm going to cut myself off.
we could, if you get me started. Oh, when you said the flag thing. So I increased the size of my flag that flies in front of my house. My house screams, go ahead. That fuck around and find out, go ahead. That's what my house screams. It has gates. We have cameras. Just like, go ahead. See what happens.
Yeah. And that's the only thing protecting our nation's borders at this point is not only all the veterans that have served and have that capability of snapping back into that mentality, but the rest of us that are willing to bear our own arms and protect our families and protect our country. So that's why the Second Amendment is so dang important. But again, we digress. All right.
Yes.
So you are now helping thousands nationwide with the dream of homeownership.
We are.
You talked a little bit about shifting from selling real estate to going into mortgages in that regard. Not only, and I know that it's beyond you being able to scale a business. Where did that passion really like come from, and where, or how, maybe even better, since you've been doing it so long, where is that passion lying today? Because for those that don't know, we got to talk a little bit ahead of time here. In the high interest rate market right now, some of your mortgage friends are probably freaking out on Facebook or freaking out internally in their own heads. Anthony's not. He's setting records. So talk about that passion and how you're continuing to succeed in this market.
Yeah. So it was, about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago now. So, when I started this, one, it was from a philanthropical side. Of course, I wanted to give back, but the competitor in me, people don't say it often enough. I just want to win. I want to give away a lot of money, but I want to win. I want to win market share. If I'm coming into your city, your state, your town, I want to win and I want to crush it. And I want to make sure that veterans, first-time homeowners, anyone, they're getting the best rates. And, loan officers, companies, they're not just getting rich, right? So, we made that. And I saw what was called, if your listeners haven't read it yet and they have a business, Blue Ocean Strategy, it's a book I read, 8-10 years ago. So year and a half, couple years ago, I said, hey, where is mortgage going? And everybody's out there looking for the A-paper clients. They're looking for the Joshes out there, the people that have 800 credit scores. They want to put down payments, all this kind of stuff. But where is America not focused? The banks, everybody. They're not focused on the people that have 620 and below credit scores. I was like, okay. I did my research. What's the demographic? Huge, like an insanely huge amount of people. I'm like, all right, so what programs can I get? So I started finding investors that would help me develop programs and back the vision. So now we can go down to 500 credit score. I can manually underwrite your loan at a 500 credit score. I can give you in-house down payment assistance for your down payment of your home at 580. Okay, so if you have a 580 credit score or above, like you could have 800. With the way rates are, we have some 750 credit score people using our down payment assistance programs. It's crazy. But anyway, we started focusing on that. And I started moving our marketing to that. The branding, the marketing all started going towards that. And what has happened over the last 2 years is, I think Russell Brunson calls it a movement. We've created a movement now, right? Of people that are getting into homes, that are paying less than they were in rent, that had never been given a chance before. No one would even take their calls before. People in the mortgage industry right now, we don't have leads, we don't have people calling, we don't have applications, our application rates are down. Not ours. Ours are up. Like ours are out of the stratosphere. Why? Because we're focusing on a different segment of the population and we're succeeding in it and everybody's winning. We're still in business, praise the Lord, and we're getting people homes. So yeah, it's the lens in which you look at things. And then if you're in business, knowing when to pivot and doing it when others aren't, right? I did what others didn't want to do or didn't see to do, right? And we're taking advantage of it.
Oh, I love it. It's interesting. Just this morning, and it's actually been a trend that I've seen over the past month or so, maybe a little bit longer, but just this morning I saw a clickbait article on Apple News, because you get your Apple News feed. Wait, are you an iPhone user?
Yes.
Okay, so you get your Apple News feed and they give you kind of top headlines. So one of the top headlines, the clickbait title of the article is why it's better to rent than own a home right now. So Anthony Lee, debate that clickbait article or debunk it.
Man, why it's better to rent than own. And they're, that article, I don't even know what the article said, but they're probably going to say because rates are so high, housing prices are high, all this noise, right? All the noise. Well, housing prices, real estate's going to keep appreciating. So let's say you want to wait and you're just going to rent. All right, you're going to rent. Let's say you're paying $3,000 a month in rent. That's $36,000 a year. Well, guess what? If I could pay your down payment for you, right? Pay your down payment. Let's say the rate's 8%. Pay your down payment. Get seller concessions. You basically have to put almost zero down to get into a home, and I can make your payment, let's say $2,500, right? So now I've just saved you what, $3,000 or whatever a month, but now you have your own home that it's gaining equity. And yeah, the rate's 8%, but it's still lower than what your rent was. You're gaining equity every year. I'm going to refinance you out of that 8% because you're gaining equity. That refinance isn't going to cost you any money in 6 to 8 months. Okay, I'm going to refinance you, get you a lower rate, get you a lower payment, and now that housing price is still appreciating. All right, so within those 2 years in rent, you would have paid $60-some thousand, let's just say $65,000 in rent. Now you paid that towards a mortgage, you own it, and you have appreciation, and you have assets, and your credit's gone up, all positive things. But if you rented, you just made someone like me that owns rental houses, you just keep making me rich. That's all you're doing. You're wasting your money. You're not betting on yourself. So to that article, I would say that's crap. Just buy your own house. Quit making me rich. Seriously.
Yeah. And then the other, like the most simple sense of that, such a good answer. The most simple sense of that is, I think you got to get over the mindset is, yes, it's 8% now, but like you said, over time, whether it's later next year or 4 years from now, the rate's going to go down. And that's when you refinance it. So you go from 8% to 5%, and you built that equity in between then. So that's just the first thing I think people think about. So the first house my parents bought was at 15% in the early 80s.
Yep, in 80 to 82, 82-ish. Yeah.
Right. So like people don't know that history because they may be looking at buying their new house and all they've known, or their first house, and all they've known is say 5%, 4% interest rates. You didn't know in the early 80s that it was 15%. You may think, how in the heck did my parents buy a house? Or why would they buy a house at that rate? Well, because it wasn't going to stay there forever. So by 88, I think it was half of that. And by the early 90s, it was half of that. So, you refinance, you sell those houses, you buy new houses at lower rates, whatever it may be. It's cyclical, all of it.
Yes. And people don't realize when you sell that home, real estate's going up unless there's a major depression, which there's probably not going to be a huge depression. There's a market correction happening or whatever in the next year or so. But unless there's a depression, hey, you're going to make money when you sell that house. So
yeah. Yep.
That's
and
what
that's
I
the
tell
other thing
people.
to think about is over time is if there's a depression, you may not sell, but you have a home that's yours, that's 10, 20 years, 30 years that you're in it. We've never been in a depression for 30 years.
No,
and
not at all.
So, and that's the other thing is we learn each depression or correction, what worked and what didn't work. And, the Fed and other things, and I got other things to say about the Fed and some government policies, but that's different story for a different day. But they learn and adjust to make sure that we can keep the economy moving.
They do,
so
for sure.
All right. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on to pivot here a little bit is more of your charitable side of things. You're on a mission to end homelessness, and you're leaving your mark in this world in many ways, but in this instance, by securing housing for women and children in need. And I just love that personally because one of my things has always been children in need. Previously, it was childhood cancer that we had a big focus on, but all of my charitable endeavors has been about the children. And I don't know why, it's just personal to me, where in the fact that like, I'm 43 and I know you're a little bit older than me. It's like, if I got cancer today, or if I had some unfortunate incident happen to me today, like I've lived a good life. I want to make sure that the next generation can have those opportunities as well. So tell us more about your mission on the homelessness side.
Yeah. So that was, my wife and I, so it was probably, I would say a couple years before we started the mortgage company. We're doing real estate. There's a local in Colorado, a thing called Mary's Home, where homeless women and children or women and children coming from drugs, alcohol, battered, being beaten, all that kind of stuff. The church has this apartment building, and, the women and children can go there for a year to 2 years. They get job training, they get free medical, they get a free place to live. There's gates around it. There's 2 guys there that guard the campus. Whatever lives they're coming from, don't follow them in there. So my wife and I were able to outfit 2 of these apartments, like take them over. I don't know what you call it, but we donated to have all the furniture, everything put into 2 of these apartments, like totally do them up. And then my wife started working at the women's clinic. So there's a free women's clinic that's the church has also, that all the women there go to and the kids go to. So she worked there. So that's where we started this. And then, it was, they needed more apartments or more buildings. I was like, well, I can help raise money for that so we could just build more. And so now that's kept going across the nation into building houses, getting these women into there. And now we're going to be working. We just started a partnership. We're in the talks with the Military Warrior Support Foundation. They buy homes for veterans, right? They buy homes, they buy cars, they do job training. It's a whole thing. So that's out of Texas down there. So we're opening a branch down in San Antonio, and women and children, they needed this, and children, like you said, they were brought into this world. It's not the children's fault of where they're at right there. So let's give them the chance to succeed. Let's get them out of that. Let's show them what's possible. Get them into church. Have them meet people like us in church, and people that are kind to them, people that help them out. So that was the gist behind this of where we wanted to go with that. And now it's kind of kept going as we moved into different states. As we keep growing, it just gets bigger and bigger. And then other companies see what we're doing. They help out. So it's definitely something that's in our heart, and it's something we'd love to do. And it's the reason, Ben talks about our burn, and why we do it. I have 2 burns. One is to do that for sure. And the other is my personal one, which is I want to do it because I want to do this job because I want to win. I want to make a lot of money so I can give it all away. And when I say that, I literally want to give away $100 million every year. That's my goal, is to give away $100 million. That's what I want to do, And so,
dude, let's talk about that for a second, because, well, okay, I don't want to miss this. Where can people, if they really feel called to your mission, where can they support that group, the charitable efforts?
The charitable efforts, they can just send us an email to info@zapmortgage.com, and we'll give them the different direct links for them to give directly to those charities. They can say it's on behalf of us or whatever, but yeah, we can point them in the right directions. They can read about Mary's Home on our website. Military Warrior Support Foundation will be up here soon on our website. So yeah, they can check it all out.
All right. So here's where my mind went with that. I wanted to make sure that we gave that plug quick, but my mind went with it like this. Entrepreneurs get shit on all the time about being greedy. And I want everyone to pay attention to what Anthony just said. He wants to win. He wants to make a lot of money, and he wants to give it all away. And that's what I find most entrepreneurs are like. I'm not talking about Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos. And one point in their lives, they might have been a little bit more altruistic and want to give some stuff away and do really good for the world. And now there's, some greed and other shit that may be influencing them. But the majority of people that I know are just like Anthony, are just like me, that want to have a big impact and leave a big impact for people that are less fortunate than us. And I wanted to get your feedback and thoughts on that, because so often in our culture, I feel like you and I, when we grew up, our dads could point at us and see someone driving a nice car and be like, hey, be like Mr. Johnson. That man ran a big business. He's employing 200 people in this community, and he's continually giving back to this, this, and this. And nowadays we hear all these entrepreneurs are greedy. They're shitheads. All they want to do is make money. That's why you should unionize and do all this bullshit, because otherwise you're just giving money to the man and blah, 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 blah. And it's beat into our children's heads to not be wealthy, to not be successful, to not win. And what I'm telling you is the exact opposite of that. You should win huge so that you can have a massive impact, just like Anthony's trying to do. I should not even say try. Actually, fuck that word try. You are doing. you were doing and having a massive impact. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I agree with everything you said. In fact, I think it even goes further. I think not only are our kids and stuff being told, wealth is bad, money's bad, it's evil, it's all this, but people that are out there, sometimes I'll do interviews, I'll say what drives you, and people will be, when they're interviewing with our company, I'll be like, well, what are you doing this for? And they're like, oh, I want to, I like your son, I want to give back, I want to help families. And I'm like, come on, bullshit. Why do you want to do this? And they're like, I was like, really, truly, tell me why you want to do it. Because and finally I'll get it out of them. They want to make a lot of money. I'm like, there you go. That's great. That's what you want. Tell me you want to make a lot of money. Be honest with that, because if you're honest with yourself that you want to make a lot of money, then you go do it. Because there's a disconnect in your brain if you say that you want to give money back, or you just want to do something for those altruistic purposes, whatever. That's great. But if you truly just want to make money or just drive a Lambo, then say that, because things are going to change. Seasons in your life are going to change. And you can never, ever affect change in someone that has less than you if you don't have money. You could be the greatest person in the world, right? You could be the nicest. You could be the kindest. You could do whatever. If you're an entrepreneur, you could do whatever. But unless you actually make sales, make money, and actually win, you're not going to be able to do any of it. And then it's all for nothing. Then you're just fucking wasting your time. So,
Yes, sir.
to me, I want people to be honest. If you want to come and make $1 million, I'll show you how to make $1 million. What you do with it's up to you. And hopefully some of me rubs off on you, but you want to make $1 million, I'll show you what it takes to make $1 million. It's funny, the book I have coming out in January, it shows people how to make $1 million. There's going to be a blueprint, like an exact blueprint on how to make $1 million in any business. I've given that to hundreds, if not thousands of people, Josh. You know how many people have actually done it? 0. One did it for 6 months, and he worked for me. And the reason he stopped at 6 months, okay, was because he was in he's like me. He was in his last semester of medical school, okay? Last semester of medical school. I was having a recruiting event at my house. Gary Vee, Tom Ferry, all these people were doing this recruiting event for me. He came, and afterwards, he's like, I'm in, I want to do it, and I'll outwork you. And I was like, you'll never outwork me, but great. This was on a Thursday. By Sunday, he had already passed his course. That next Thursday, he had his license. In 6 months, he did $314,000 of gross commission income on a 50-50 split. So in 6 months, he actually did $630,000 because I took half of it, right? Anyway, I took half of it, but he did that in 6 months. But he's the only one that followed that plan to a T. He didn't do it for a full year. If he would have done it for a full year, he would have made $1 million. But people have to be willing to do the work. And I think that's lacking in society too. People can tell me all day. You see people all the time say they want to be a millionaire, but then when you show them what it takes, they just don't have it. So I probably got off on a tangent there. I'm sorry.
No, it's a good tangent because yeah, you can want to make $1 million, but you got to put in the work, and then it's a trade-off. And so you can't go and shit on someone else that did it when you weren't willing to do the work, when you knew or had the same blueprint and opportunity to do it. And then there's a lot of people that'll go, well, now I've made 300,000 or I've made $1 million, and that's more than I ever thought I'd make in my life. And they let off the gas. And I'm like, no. That's not it. Because if you had more gifts, if God put more in you, which he did, he put more in all of us. It's your duty to dig as far as possible to see how deep those gifts go so that you can actually give it back to the world, not keep it for yourself, not because you made 10 times more than your dad ever did, but it's to keep going and not at the expense of other things that matter a lot. There's nuance in everything that we say. It's not at the expense of your family or your relationships, your kids, your health, any of that, but it's to dig as deep as possible on those gifts to see how far you can go to give it back to the world, to give it back to your kids, to give it back to the next generation, to give it back to those homeless kids and show them a better path, a different path than they had it. And you're doing that. And you're spot on with that. I'm glad we got on that topic. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little marketing because you're a genius with it.
There we go.
So let's talk a little bit about how you've kind of turned, say a mortgage business into a marketing machine, some of the unique things you've done with social media and just some of the other things that you've done. And like you even just flippantly mentioned, hey, I had Tom Ferry and Gary Vee do this recruiting event for me. Like those are two big names that you just kind of flippantly threw in there. Like that's a unique strategy that you did to go and recruit. But anyhow, on the marketing side, give us some golden nuggets on that side and your mentality around it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, Gary Vee, okay. If you haven't listened to his, I tell people all the time, I'm 50 years old. Okay. Let's talk about a little bit. I'm 50 years old. When TikTok came out, my 14-year-old daughter was like doing this dumb dancing shit all over the house. What is this? And Gary started preaching, hey, you need to be on TikTok. Hey, you need to be on TikTok. And I'm like, yeah, remember, that's in the mortgage time. That was right before pre-COVID, or right, things were fat. We were doing well. So it's like, I don't need that. Fast forward to after COVID, stuff like that. So when I changed her, I was like, okay, I'll start doing TikTok. So I started doing TikTok and, did, 12, 15, and nothing really hit. Then boom, one hit, 3.5 million views on a 7-second video. 2,700. I remember that day we had 2,716 applications in one day.
No
so
shit.
For all you
what
people
was the
out
video
there,
for the audience? What was the video? Because I think you said it was something silly, wasn't it?
The video was me. I got up out of my chair, raised my hands up like this, walked out of the office, and it said, hey, it was something like, it was very short. It was, hey, 571 credit score buyer just closed on their $419,000 house, whatever it was. It was me calling. That was it. It was 6.7 seconds, right at 7 seconds, boom, viral like that, right? Changed the direction of the company, because what happened then, now we've had many viral videos since then. So social media works, and, it works for any company, but you have to utilize it in the right way. TikTok is all organic for us. Okay, so here's some tidbits for you. I use TikTok as an organic testing platform. Anything that gets, 300,000 or 400,000 views on my TikTok, I will take that and then I will create paid ads against that same video on Facebook and Instagram and Google or wherever, right? We know the copy works. We know the headlines work. We know the colors work. We know everything works. We know the time works. We know the attention span works. We know everything works. So then we'll throw money against it. And like, I can just add fuel to that fire, right? I can just, anytime I want to turn it up, turn it down, I can just put more money towards paid ads. But at the same time, I'm still doing more organic testing every single day, right? Organic testing on the different platforms. And what hits, then I put into paid, organic into paid. And then off of the organic stuff, I can tell you that when I put a TikTok video up, our calls go up, everything goes up the day that I put up a TikTok video. So, for marketing out there, for whatever company you're in, you have to utilize what's out there right now. And the big things right now are TikTok, Instagram Reel, or Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels. Those are the big things that are out there where we're getting
YouTube Shorts.
YouTube Shorts also. So YouTube Shorts, I've put some things on YouTube Shorts. Some things have hit. One thing got 870,000 views or something on YouTube Shorts, right? And then one thing got like 870. So I haven't, cracked the code on YouTube Shorts, but I haven't also done what's needed. You got to remember, you got to be platform specific. You got to know, I haven't done the needed long form content on YouTube. I haven't, gotten the subscribers on YouTube. I haven't focused on the YouTube, but you're right. YouTube Shorts are huge. The paid advertising on YouTube is amazing, right? When you have the right audience, when you have the right channel set up on YouTube. So I know about it, and we'll go there. There's so many things we're doing that we just haven't had time to optimize that yet. But the marketing side is huge. It was if you go back to the September issue here, look, check this out. You're here. You saw it. So the September issue of Inc., that's the whole reason I was in this magazine. All right. The whole reason I was in this.
Too.
It is. You like that? That one. Oh, and I got to brag here. Look, I got inside cover too. Check that out.
Hey.
Inside cover. There we go. The reason for this is because of TikTok. That's why I got in this. That's why I was also, so I guess I can't say the name. There's a company out there. Everybody knows who it is. They're thinking about doing a documentary called the TikTokification of America. And as one of the top business influencers on TikTok, they interviewed us. And so if they end up doing the actual documentary, we'll be on it. Right. So cool. It's business TikTok is so much different from what you see when you're just flipping through. Like, it's way different. Like, I may not have as many followers as like big, huge influencers, but for businesses, it's huge.
Yeah. And so at that, actually, I was going to ask you that is, how many followers did you have when that first 7-second one went big?
So the first 7-second when it went big, I had like 197 followers.
See, that's what's cool about TikTok, for those that don't know, is you don't have to have a shit ton of followers for something to go viral.
Right. Yes, that is true. So once that went viral, I went to over 10,000 followers in a day. Right. And there's another aspect of TikTok that I haven't quite utilized yet, which they want me to start utilizing, and I will, which is going on and doing live. So once I think you're over 1,000 followers or something on TikTok, you can go live. So I'm going to start doing that here as we start rolling into the next year for a weekly or a monthly Q&A with the CEO of Zap on TikTok, right? Where people can just come on, ask questions, and I'll answer them.
Yeah, I love it. So in brief here, I want to narrow this down. So what Anthony is doing is utilizing TikTok as a testing platform before he spends any money on any of the other platforms. So that's a great tool or great tidbit that you guys can take away right there is, if nothing else, get on TikTok to test what hits, and then you can put some money towards paid ads on Instagram or the Meta platforms, I should say. So that's a great tidbit. Well, all right. So last question I'm going to ask you before my final question is, if TikTok got banned, if social media just got wiped off the face of the planet, what's your first thing you do or best marketing strategy if all those things just went away? Because there's a lot of people that rely on social media, and I'm always fearful of that. I'm like, for me,
they do.
I'll say, well, I'm going to hold back my answer because I want to hear yours to see if it's the same. What's the first thing Anthony does, or what's your go-to market strategy?
Yeah, my go-to-market strategy, if that all goes away, we've created a culture and a raving fan type of business here where we make everybody that comes through and gets a mortgage from us is happy. I wouldn't say 100%. We're probably at a 98% satisfaction rate, but we make raving fans out of them. So then we just go back to the old school marketing techniques. All right. We're going to do handwritten notes. We're going to send emails. We're going to call every month. We're going to monitor birthdays. We're going to send little gifts. We're going to do all the little things that make a person still feel connected to the business, like they're part of that family, because we created a community and we want them to be a part of that community and tell all their friends about that community. And if there is no social media, if there is nothing on there, then all you have is word of mouth. And the only way to do that is to create absolute crazy raving fans. Just like, if you have your best pumpkin spice latte and it's from some local coffee spot, you'll tell everybody, hey, don't go to Starbucks, go to this place. They have the best pumpkin spice, right? And it's that word of mouth. So that's what we would do.
Yeah. No, all right. Our answer is the same. The only thing I would emphasize on it is the email list, right? If you only have one point of contact, right, is emphasizing making sure that you're building out your email list, because I don't think email is ever going away now that it's so ingrained in our culture. But if all social media were to go away, you got the phone, you got email, but really, like you said, is keying on building a community of raving fans that love to talk about the work that you do so that it gets to their friends and family, the people that they care about. Love it.
Oh, yes. That you're right. I missed on the list. Josh, you're correct. Like, our list is huge now. The bigger your list, the more money you're going to make. So you're definitely right.
Boom. All right. So I always end with this question, brother. What's an unpopular belief that you hold to be true that most others would disagree with?
An unpopular belief that I hold to be true that most people would disagree with. Ooh, man, that's a tough question.
Go with the gut. I know there probably are several.
Yeah. So, I guess an unpopular belief right now is that, you can't be a Christian. You can't be a Christian businessman and make money. An unpopular belief is that you have to placate to everybody, which I don't believe is true. I've always been out there. I don't say I'm outspoken, but I'm a Christian. I'm retired military. I have guns. I believe in guns. I believe in the Second Amendment. So all the beliefs that you have to always make everybody happy, you don't have to make everybody happy, because I don't want them as customers. I don't want them in my life. I don't want them in my community. I don't want them poisoning the people around me. So I don't need them, and I don't need to do business with them either if they don't align with what I align with. So, and God's going to provide and put people in your life to help your mission if you stick to your standards, like if you stick to your core beliefs, if you stick to your core values, right? Just do that and you'll succeed. So I think that may have answered it.
Oh, it did. Amen.
Okay.
Amen, brother. Well, this has been so good to spend the time with you, and I know there was a lot of nuggets and wisdom gathered from the audience today. Where can people follow you, reach out to you, connect with you?
Yeah, so TikTok is Zap Mortgage. Okay, everything else is Anthony J. Lee. So Anthony J. Lee, that's on Facebook, that's on Instagram, which, Instagram's been kind of on and off for me. I'm almost at 10,000 followers now. So, hey, we're getting up there on Instagram life. So Anthony J. Lee on YouTube too. And that's all going to be, blown up here in 2024.
Future focus for you. Awesome.
Yes.
Well, everybody follow him, check him out. What do you have the name of your book that's going to be released in January yet?
Yeah, that's going to be Race for Greatness. The R stands for relentless. The R stands for relentless. A stands for action. C stands for connection. E stands for execution. Okay. So Race for Greatness, you're going to get some deliverables out of it. It's not just going to be this, hey, do all this. I'm going to give you tactical examples. You'll be able to go online, get the teachings, get the tactical examples. I'm going to hand you not only the blueprint to $1 million, I'm going to give you a daily accountability checklist to hold you accountable to take you to that $1 million. So yeah, it's kind of cool, and we're looking forward to it.
It's very cool. I can't wait for it. I'll definitely be a supporter of that book, and all of you should be as well. Well, thank you for spending the time and taking your valuable time with us today, Anthony. Spartans, you know what to do. Hit that share button. Remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.